Hello everyone, welcome to Achievers IAS classes. Let's begin our discussion on the current events of 15th June 2018. The first issue news is regarding child adoption. The Central Adoption Resource Authority, which is the nodal body for adoption of children in our country, has barred partners in the live-in relationships from adopting a child on the ground that cohabitation without marriage is not considered a stable family in India. According to the adoption regulations of 2017, the Central Adoption Resource Authority permits a single woman to adopt a child of any gender, while single men can only adopt boys. Further, in case an applicant is married, both the spouses must give their consent for adoption and should be in a stable marriage for at least 2 years. In addition to these conditions, candidates must be physically fit, financially sound, and mentally alert to adopt a child as per the regulations. The stance taken by the adoption authority stating that live-in relationships is not considered a stable family is in contrast to the Supreme Court stand in several occasions where it has ruled that live-in relationship is neither a crime or a sin, and the adult couples have the right to live in together even if they were not married. Further, it has extended several safety provisions under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, under which a woman in a live-in relationship has been accorded protection, as in the case of a marriage, to file a complaint of domestic violence. Therefore, it remains to be seen whether the adoption authorities' recent stance will be questioned in the court of law. Till then, let's move on to the next issue, which is regarding the study conducted by Niti Aayog, which has warned that India is facing its worst water crisis and the demand for potable water will outstrip supply by the year 2030. The study states that nearly 600 million Indians faced high to extreme water stress and about 2 lakh people died every year because of inadequate access to safe water. Further, according to the study, 21 cities, including Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai, and Hyderabad, will run out of groundwater by 2020, and critical groundwater resources, which accounted for 40% of the water supply, are being depleted at the unsustainable rates, and up to 70% of the supply is contaminated as per the report. In addition to this, states like Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, and Chhattisgarh, which account for 20 to 30% of India's agricultural output, have performed very badly on the composite water index compiled by the Niti Aayog, thereby further adding to the fears. The next issue in news is an editorial regarding the worsening of relations between India and Maldives. Yesterday too, we discussed how the conduct of polls, the treatment of judiciary, and the imposition of a state of emergency in Maldives was criticized by the Indian government, which resulted in the downslide of the relationship between the two nations, which was further worsened by Chinese involvement in the region. The latest development in this regard is the denial of extension of work visas for Indian workers, and Maldives saying that it will not extend the lease of Indian helicopters or the visas of personnel manning them, which marks a downturn in the defense cooperation between the two countries, which so far had coordinated the maritime and the exclusive economic zone patrols together. In this regard, the Maldivian government has to reconsider these policies, and India too should introspect on why the relations between the two countries has gone sour. Because until a few years ago, Maldives had adopted an India first policy, and India too had supported the near autocratic government run by Mr. Gayoom previously, and India's interventions in Maldives were always aimed at strengthening the government there, and any misgivings were conveyed only through quiet diplomacy. In this regard, it is time for both the countries to restore the bilateral trust. Meanwhile, the Indian government has taken up the issue of visa denials to hundreds of Indian workers and has urged the Maldivian government to abide by the terms of the bilateral visa regime which is in place since 1979. We have to wait and watch what the future course of development between the two countries is going to be in the days to come. The final issue in news today is India's rejection of a report from the United Nations that has called for an international investigation into the allegations of human rights abuse by the Indian Armed Forces in Kashmir. The Ministry of External Affairs has termed the report as fallacious, saying that it is a selective compilation of largely unverified information. On that note, I call it a wrap on today's news analysis. Do share this content if you like it. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.